Hey Knights, yesterday we went over fantasy versus realism, and I have a really good example today of where the wild things are. This is a perfect example of how a book can start off realistic and then totally change into fantasy. So I'm going to read it out loud for you today. Where the Wild Things Are, Story and Pictures by Maurice Sendak. It is actually the winner of a Caldecott Medal for Best Picture Book of the Year. It's a pretty popular book, so I'm sure you heard it before. And it's also published by HarperCollins Publishers. The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind and another. His mother called him Wild Thing, and Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without eating anything. That very night in Max's room, a forest grew. So there's one hint of fantasy happening right now. It started off pretty realistic, and now something magical is happening. His forest grew and grew. And grew until his ceiling hung with vines, and the walls became the world all around. Beautiful illustrations. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max, and he sailed off through night and day. And in and out of weeks, and almost over a year, to where the wild things are. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth, and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. So we have some magical creatures showing up now. Till Max said, "Be still," and tamed them with the magic trick of staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once. And they were frightened and called him the most wild thing of all. And made him king of all wild things. "And now," cried Max, "let the wild rumpus start." They're having so much fun. Hanging from trees. Maybe a parade. "Now stop," Max said, and sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of all wild things, was lonely and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. Then all around, from far away across the world, he smelled good things to eat. So he gave up being king of where the wild things are. I wonder where that smell is coming from. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so." And Max said, "No." The wild things roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye. And that'll be our secret word of the day. Wild. Wild is our secret word. And sailed back over a year and in and out of weeks and through a day. and into the night of his very own room, where he found his supper waiting for him. And it was still hot. Okay, and that's the end. So as you can see, Where the Wild Things Are is a perfect example of how a book can start off pretty realistic, right? It could happen. It could be funny. It could have some made-up elements. Obviously, Max does not exist, but at the beginning of the book, he was just a regular boy that got in trouble and got put into his room. Pretty realistic. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. But then it totally changed into fantasy. We had totally fake talking animals, magical places, people, things, and we have things that could not happen in real life at all. Now, did this actually happen in Max's world? Who knows? It totally could be his imagination, but to him it was so real. So I hope you enjoyed Where the Wild Things Are. It's a perfect example of fantasy. Comment down below, where in the story did it make that change from realism to fantasy? Where exactly did it happen? Okay, I hope I see you again soon, Knights.